Thunderstorm warning continued for Mercer, canceled for Lawrence.
Okay. Okay, we're just getting our live streams up and running here on Twitter and Facebook. Bear with me for just a moment while I get all this squared away. All right, welcome in everyone who's watching us on either YouTube, Twitter, or on Facebook this afternoon. It's 21 News Chief Meteorologist Eric Wilhelm here. I'm joined by meteorologist Andrew DiPaolo, and we're keeping a close eye on, of course, some heavy storms that have impacted our area and continue to impact parts of our area. As of 4:22 this afternoon, we had some heavy damage around downtown Warren earlier on today. Caused a lot of problems with the Italian Fest, with tents knocked over, trees falling over. We even had a report of perhaps someone getting injured up there, and we'll have a full update on that this evening on 21 News at 6 p.m. As of 4:23, here's what we have going on. We have a couple of active warnings. One is over into Mercer County. The storm has had a history of producing some gusty winds and a little bit of hail as well. Right now, nothing real impressive as far as the wind goes on the radar data here. So this storm may be cycling down a little bit as it moves across Interstate 80 and 19, heading over towards Mercer and Findlay. Not much hail left with that either. So this storm may be doing a little bit of a cycling downward, even though it's still a heavy storm with some downpours as it pushes into Jackson Center here in the next 5 or 10 minutes. Our other active warning in our television viewing area is up into Trumbull County. This is in effect until 5 p.m. It includes most of Trumbull County. The exception is the southeastern part of the county. You're not in the warning in Hubbard, and then heading up towards the Sharon area as well across the state line. But you're in the warning in Vienna, Warren, Cortland, Newton Falls, heading up towards Southington, and the rest of central and northern Trumbull County as well. The primary threat with this storm has been wind gusts, and they've been pretty strong as this cell has moved across parts of Portage County up into Geauga County as well. And yeah, we're sampling some decent wind here over towards Ravenna, up towards Garrettsville as well. Let's query a few spots here. We may be seeing some wind gusts here, 45 plus miles per hour. So some strong winds moving through the central and east central parts of Portage County. In Trumbull County itself right now, we have some gusty winds approaching Leavittsburg to Champion. It doesn't look super strong on the radar data right now, but still, that's a gusty wind coming across just east of Southington, heading over towards Champion, and we're about to get our third or fourth storm of the day in the Cortland area and parts of the Mosquito Lake region as well. It's been a pretty active afternoon in much of Trumbull County. Zooming back out, if you're watching this from Mahoning County, it's still pretty quiet right now, and we have no warnings out for Mahoning County, and it's actually been pretty quiet most of the afternoon down into Columbiana County. We've had a couple of cells that have moved through, but generally Columbiana has been one of our quietest spots so far this afternoon. Andrew, just off to my left, keeping an eye on the power outage numbers, and we've got a lot of power outages in Trumbull right now. Is that right?
Yeah. Right now in Trumbull, we've got 1,265. The majority of those, of course, coming in Warren at 656, and then next up after that, 458 for Johnston Township, and then there's some very minor numbers after that sprinkled in a variety of different communities, but the big two are Warren and then Johnston Township.
Yeah, so Warren, Johnston Township. In case you can't hear Andrew, he's not mic'd up here. He's off to my left. If the mic isn't picking him up, great. 1,200 or so total in Trumbull. Is that the
1265?
1265.
Yeah, and then 650 plus in Warren, and then in close to 500 in Johnston Township.
Yeah, earlier on this afternoon, I shared some video someone took of the strong gusts of wind coming through Warren. There was, of course, as there always is when we have wind problems and wind damage, there was some speculation that it was a tornado. It was not a tornado, but it was definitely some strong wind that rolled through Warren just before 3 p.m., about an hour and a half ago at this point, and caused a lot of problems with trees themselves and tree limbs coming down, and of course with the Italian Fest, lots of problems around there. And again, we'll have an update on the Warren situation this evening in about an hour and a half on 21 News at 6 p.m. But as Andrew was mentioning, we have about 1,200 without power in total in parts of Trumbull County this afternoon. The reason for our severe thunderstorm warning until 5 p.m. for parts of Trumbull, a lot of Trumbull, is this cluster of storms back into Portage County, which is rolling east right now, bringing some frequent lightning, some gusty winds, and some heavy rain to parts of that county, primarily from 76 on north up towards the Turnpike, where you see those deeper reds, the brighter reds. Yeah, that's some strong wind. Moving into Newton Falls here pretty soon, moving into Southington pretty soon, and eventually probably Lordstown and Warren as well. These storms are moving. They're not moving super fast. The forward speed on these, so what would we say, Andrew? Maybe 25, 30, something like that?
Yeah, somewhere right around there.
So they're moving, but it would be nice if they were moving a little faster.
They've been that slow all afternoon. I mean, even going back to 1, 2 o'clock when they started to develop. I mean, even those little cells of heavy rain that were pushing into Trumbull County were moving very slow, and the rain rates on them were just a little bit higher than they are now, but they were pushing 4 inches per hour, if not higher.
Yeah, and on my Twitter, I retweeted some pictures that we've seen in Warren, of course, with the Italian Fest. Some problems there with lots of damage, lots of cleaning up. Again, this was just before 3 o'clock this afternoon. All these problems up in downtown Warren. Now, the wind damage we've seen no evidence that it extended really any farther east than downtown Warren. Sure, there were some gusty winds in Vienna and Howland and places like that, but it seems like most of our problems were right around downtown. This is a quick hitter, and it really then didn't cause a whole lot of problems, it looks like, any farther east than that. So, again, some problems earlier on today in the Warren area, and Warren once again is included in a severe thunderstorm warning that runs until 5 p.m. Over in Mercer County, we have a storm that appears to be cycling down some. The Pittsburgh Weather Service office issued a warning until 4:45 for that storm. And while there's some gusty winds and some lightning in Jackson Center right now, and pushing across kind of the eastern third of Mercer, this no longer looks to me like it's truly a severe storm. We'll see if it pulses back up before it leaves Mercer County, but right now, not a real big concern about true severe weather with this. Some gusty winds along 62 and across I-79 as well, but I'm encouraged by the cycling down of that storm since they issued the warning. We have some thunder and lightning and some rain in places such as Champion and Southington and Bristol, up towards Farmington and Mespo, and Lordstown and Niles as well. But no true severe weather at this point with these storms in Trumbull. The reason for the warning is mostly this cluster that's still in Portage County, and again, it's heading towards Southington and Newton Falls here pretty quickly with a gust of wind. Doesn't look like there's a lot of hail with this. I'm not seeing much hail, but this is a wind threat for sure. And once again, I'll show you the Doppler radar velocity data off the Cleveland National Weather Service office. When you get into some of these brighter reds, 45, 55 miles per hour possible. Windham, close to Palmyra as well. This is right in between roughly the Turnpike and 76 in Portage County. So mostly east of Ravenna at this point and bearing down on the Trumbull Portage County line, and also parts of Geauga County getting in on this as well. South of Interstate 80, things are still fairly quiet. We're getting grazed a little bit in Austintown right now with a shower, but no big deal there. We're dry for the time being in downtown Youngstown. We did have a downpour earlier on. And again, Columbiana County remains one of our quieter spots this afternoon. Let me actually bring up one of our cameras here. This is Niles, Eastwood Mall area, showing some threatening skies there. Darkening sky in Niles this afternoon, where we have some showers around, some thunder closer to Warren. but it's not currently, it looks like, raining all that hard, if at all, right at our camera site across the street from the mall. Our other active camera right now is Youngstown, and we're kind of facing northwest here, heading up towards Austintown, and then up into kind of the Girard, Mineral Ridge area. And yeah, some threatening skies off to the northwest of downtown Youngstown. We have a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings out, and just a quick reminder of the difference between just a kind of a garden variety strong thunderstorm and a true severe thunderstorm. The criteria is hail of 1 inch in diameter or larger, or winds of 58 miles per hour or greater, or tornadoes. We really have no tornado risk out there today, but the wind is our primary threat. Downtown Warren probably had a wind gust earlier today of 50 plus, maybe even 60 plus miles per hour, and these storms will continue to have that kind of a threat for the time being. Now, if you have outdoor plans this evening, I don't think this is going to last all evening in our area. In fact, it looks like the next 45 minutes to an hour should be our busiest time of the entire evening. Then things should start calming down fairly quickly. Let's go back to the radar, and I'll show you that once we get north and west of this main line, yes, there's some showers up there, and we may get grazed by those some later on this evening into the overnight, but there's no severe weather back towards Toledo. Our main severe weather threat is right now, and maybe for the next half an hour to 45 minutes, and then we should be in much better shape. Any thunderstorm is going to have lightning. That goes without saying. If you have lightning, you have thunder. And the activities with the most deaths as a result of lightning, we show this sometimes when we're talking about severe weather. Fishing, number one. That may surprise you a little bit. It's surprising to some people golf isn't higher on this list, but a lot of times it involves the water. Near the water, such as on the beach or out on the water fishing. Camping is up there as well as just plain old boating. So anyone on any of our area lakes, Mosquito Lake, heading down towards Berlin, and into Lake Milton as well. Those are places you definitely just don't want to be on the water for the rest of the late afternoon hours. If you're watching us again from the southern part of our viewing area down towards Guilford Lake in central Columbiana County, you're in the clear for now. You may see a shower or a storm before the evening is through. All right, let's check in on our radar data once again here. I know that some people, kind of pop in and out of these live streams, so apologize if you're watching the entire time and I get a little bit repetitive, but that's the nature of severe weather coverage. We're going to say the same thing frequently because not everyone's watching for the entire time. We have some downpours from Warren to Champion to Bristol, and scattered downpours from around the airport in Vienna, heading over towards Yankee Lake, and then down into the Niles area and close to the Mahoning County line. We have some showers. There's no severe weather with that. Quick look at the Cleveland National Weather Service wind velocity data shows we have no bright reds right now in a lot of the Warren area heading down towards Girard and points east, but the reds get brighter coming into far western parts of Trumbull County right now. You have some brighter reds right around Newton Falls and coming into Braceville, and these brighter reds indicative of some wind gusts that could top 50 miles per hour as this comes into Trumbull County. So that's why the warning was issued. Really a very minimal hail threat. If there's any hail with this, it would be very minor. It wouldn't be the kind of hail that would be real impactful and cause damage to your siding or to your car windshield or anything like that. We've had some storms with some small hail today, but it's been just that. It's been pretty small. By far and away, the number one risk today has been the wind. Let's do a storm track on that main cluster. Again, under the premise here, let me check the. Andrew, do you have up the initial warning statement for this Trumbull County warning? What did the Weather Service put the forward speed on that as?
Let me pull it up real quick here. Here we go. Got it.
Looks like 30. Am I reading that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 30. All right, so say this is moving at about 30 miles per hour. Let's do some clock times here. So something like this, we'll put it Into Newton Falls in the next couple of minutes. Champion at about 4:53. Warren closer to 5 o'clock, a couple minutes before 5. Cortland at 5:06. Girard at 5:13. And over towards Hubbard at 5:27. And again, while there are some areas of rain in these places right now, we're talking about the main cluster of storms that has the wind threat with it that's about to push into the far western part of Trumbull County right now. This has been rolling through Portage County. It rolled through Ravenna a little bit ago, Charlestown, and now is approaching the Trumbull County line. So some approximate clock times there. So Newton Falls, get ready for this in the next handful of minutes. A gust of wind, some rain, and some lightning as well. A very minimal hail threat with this. It's going to take about another 10 to 15, or I should say 15 to 20 minutes or so in the Warren area for that main cluster to move through. You're getting a thunderstorm in Warren right now, but that main line that has the wind threat is about 15 to 20 minutes away in the Warren area. Again, down in Mahoning County, no warnings right now. It looks like this warned cluster will miss us to the north. There are some showers off to the west, but the farther south you are, generally speaking, the lower your severe weather risk is going to be as we go through the rest of the 4 o'clock hour and into the 5 o'clock hour. I don't want to completely give you the all clear for the entire day in places such as Salem and Columbiana and Lisbon and Hanoverton, but you have no imminent threat in those locations. Boardman to Poland to Struthers to Camel, heading down towards North Lima. You're doing all right for now as well. The severe weather risk is mostly to your north for the time being. Our other active warning is over in Mercer County, but again, over the
Trumbull warning was continued.
Okay, so they're going to continue the Trumbull County warning until 5 o'clock.
Yep.
This storm, once they issued the warning over in Mercer County, the storm weakened, and that'll happen sometimes. Mother Nature will say, "Hey, you're going to issue a warning, huh? Well, I'll go ahead and weaken that storm," and that's kind of what happened over in Mercer County. A pretty good thunderstorm, yes, but it's not as strong as it was when it was down in Lawrence County and provoked the severe thunderstorm warning. There was some hail earlier, some small hail with us closer to New Wilmington and closer to 376 down in Lawrence County.
And just to give you an update on the power outages too, those actually have been reduced. They were like 1265 the last time I mentioned them. They're down to 887 right now. About 460 in Johnston Township, and then down significantly in Warren to 241.
All right, so down to 241 power outages in Warren now. Those numbers are considerably less than earlier. That being said, we may have more power outage issues late this afternoon with this line of storms pushing in. Right now, Newton Falls getting clobbered pretty good, especially right along the county line, just to the east of Newton Falls, or I should say to the west, with some gusty winds. Braceville, you're next. Southington also about to get hit with a pretty good thunderstorm. Now we're getting torrential downpours in Howland and Warren and Leavittsburg and Champion, but the wind threat with that downpour is fairly minimal. We're not picking up on a whole lot of strong winds with that. Noticeable wind gust, yes, and just in the last scan or two, there might be a little area of brighter red just south of downtown Warren. So right around Main Avenue, Highland Avenue, there might be some 35 to 40 mile per hour gusts in there on the last scan of the radar. That's kind of the exception though. The rest of that area, the wind is not too strong, but we'll keep an eye on that. That could be an area of enhanced wind just south of downtown right now, where you see kind of this brighter red pixel. Yeah, could be some pretty strong winds through there. The main cluster of wind, though, is back here over Newton Falls, heading down towards Craig Beach and the Lake Milton area, where we are getting a gust of wind and a pretty good downpour as well. Hopefully everyone is off of the lake at this point. Even though we have no warning for Mahoning County, we are getting grazed a little bit in the far, far northwestern part of Mahoning County with this storm. Just going to look and make sure that, yeah, there might be a tiny little bit of hail around Craig Beach right now, right in the center, right here between Newton Falls and Craig Beach. Might be some small hail with that. Don't think it's anything all that sizable.
That Mercer warning was just expired.
All right, so they're going to expire the Mercer warning 5 minutes early, and we'll take that. So the warning that was in effect still showing up graphically here because the original expiration was 4:45, but 5 minutes early, the National Weather Service out of Pittsburgh did discontinue this warning over into Mercer County. So as I've been talking about, that storm cycling down over the last 10 to 15 minutes. Our Trumbull County warning is in effect until 5, and again, most of the counties in the warning except for the southeastern part of it. So the closer you are to the Mahoning County line, you're not in the warning. So Hubbard is included in that. Churchill, Mineral Ridge is not in the warning. Niles, you are in the warning. Really, from Niles north, you are. But the closer you are to I-80 in southeastern Trumbull, you're not in the warning. Liberty Township, and of course Youngstown is not in the warning as well. Gust of wind and a heavy downpour, Warren to Howland. We have some gusty winds coming through the 534 area, the Interstate 80, Ohio Turnpike area, Route 5 as well, coming through southwestern parts of Trumbull County. Courtney reporting thunder in Harrisville, PA. Stephen asking, any chance of a tornado? No, no chance of a tornado. Strong winds, yes, but no tornado threat, or very, very minuscule tornado threat. Much more concerned about just plain old wind this afternoon with our storms. Wind is wind, and trees and siding don't necessarily care if the wind came from a tornado or just a thunderstorm, a plain straight line thunderstorm wind. 50 to 60 mile per hour wind, whether it's from a very, very weak tornado or from a pretty strong thunderstorm, is going to do roughly the same kind of thing. So yeah, not concerned about tornadoes this afternoon, but sure, there's a pretty heightened threat of wind, and we've seen evidence of that already this afternoon. Jeff says, sunshine in Sharon right now. Yeah, we're getting some intervals of sun in between these storms, that is for sure. It's one of those kind of midsummer days where it's either partly sunny and pretty nice out, or it's raining pretty hard. Bridget says, getting really dark in Newton Falls. Yeah, the storm's coming in right now in Newton Falls. Aaron says, explain why there's no tornado threat. The conditions are just not right for tornadoes this afternoon. You need a fair amount of wind shear, changing of the wind direction and or the wind speed as you go up through the atmosphere, and that is not all that present today. So we just don't have the ingredients for tornadic activity today. But we do have the ingredients for some strong winds. And as we saw about almost 2 hours ago in Warren, the atmosphere is capable of transferring down some pretty strong winds from a few thousand feet up in the atmosphere this afternoon. So thanks to everyone who's watching on Facebook or Twitter this afternoon and commenting and letting us know what's going on. Kim says Southington is getting hit right now. It's getting dark in North Jackson, says Candy. And yeah, this storm approaching North Jackson, Mineral Ridge, Austintown. We're getting this downpour, Niles to Warren. I want to check in on the wind velocity data here, because last time I checked, yeah, there's still a pretty good gust of wind in this brighter red right here, southeast of Warren. Niles Warren Road, Warren Avenue, coming over towards 169 right now. Yeah, that's an area that could be seeing some pretty strong wind. Mostly south of downtown Warren, thankfully. But between Warren and Niles, definitely have to be concerned about some wind. Maybe pretty close to the Eastwood Mall at this point. In fact, let me real quickly look at our Eastwood Mall camera. And visibility reduced. The camera is not shaking that badly, so worst of the wind maybe just to the north of the mall right now. And while I have our cameras up, I'll check in on our Youngstown camera. This is looking northwest away from downtown Youngstown, showing the dark and threatening skies. Also a few rays of sun in between the dark clouds from our transmitter tower on the south side of Youngstown, looking northwest. All right, we've got another 15 minutes to go on our severe thunderstorm warning up in Trumbull County. We have two areas of wind. One is between Warren and Niles right now. The other is closer to Lordstown. Let's sample a few spots here. 45 plus mile per hour winds. Yeah, that's going to be a possibility. This maybe doesn't look as strong as it did when they first issued the warning 10 or 15 minutes ago, but some strong winds coming across 45 right now between Lordstown and Warren. Howland area getting a strong gust of wind and certainly a downpour. And then looking off to the west, Braceville, it's raining. We're getting some thunder and lightning occasionally. But that being said, don't see a lot of fresh lightning. When you see the lightning on our on our graphics here, when the bolts are kind of grayed out, that means the lightning data is a little older. The fresher, newer lightning tends to be show up in the brighter whites. So we're seeing kind of a reduction in the total lightning here, and that's a good sign. That usually means that the storm may be cycling down a little bit. Hopefully it doesn't cycle back up, but it's a good sign in the short term that the storm may be kind of losing its punch a little bit as it comes east through Trumbull County. Steve says Howland is getting it good. Yeah, Howland is getting a downpour and some wind. Rain and windy in Southington, says Shirley. Thank you for that. Whether this wind is truly severe at this point, it may be kind of a marginal situation, but it's noticeable. It's strong, that is for sure. Cortland down to Niles, to Warren, to Howland, to Lordstown, into Newton Falls and Southington as well. Anywhere where you see these kind of brighter red colors, that's indicative of some pretty strong winds in parts of Trumbull County. Let's do a fresh storm track here. Again, this is moving east-northeast at about 30 miles per hour. Let's actually start our storm track with kind of the leading cluster here that's moving through Cortland and Vienna right now. Then kind of curve it down like this and go like this. So Weathersfield coming up in a couple of minutes. Girard about 5 o'clock or so. Sharon 5:10, 5:12. Hermitage 5:17. West Middlesex about 5:31. Mercer at 5:49. And again, this is for the cluster that's moving through central and western parts of Trumbull right now. You're getting some rain and some thunder already in some of these cities I'm showing you, but what I'm showing you is the arrival time of this main cluster or two of storms off to the west. If you have outdoor plans in the next hour or so in a lot of Mahoning County, especially closer to 224 and down towards Columbiana County, you're pretty much good to go. We have an isolated shower right now just south of 224, close to Canfield, but nothing crazy there. And we remain bone dry down in Columbiana County. So if you want to mow the grass here before dinner time in Lisbon and Hanoverton and East Palestine and down towards East Liverpool as well, you should be in pretty good shape. We'll keep an eye on you as we go into the evening hours, but the severe weather risk right now appears to be missing you well off to the north. For those just joining us, let me once again show you some of the pictures from earlier from up in Warren. This was just before 3 p.m., about 2 hours ago. We had probably some 50, maybe even 60 plus mile per hour winds that rolled right through downtown Warren. And unfortunately for the Italian Fest, this meant a lot of cleaning up to do with tents and whatnot. And we had a lot of trees down, and whole trees, and also just some tree limbs and branches as well. Here's a picture of a tree that's completely blown over, and here's a big limb coming off of this tree. And again, this is about 2 hours ago in downtown Warren. We had a lot of problems earlier on today. And they're going to continue.
Cancels the warning for Ashtabula and Geauga, continues it for Portage and Trumbull until 5.
All right, so they're going to continue the warning for Portage and Trumbull until 5, but they discontinued it up in Ashtabula and Geauga. Yeah. So we've got another about 10 or 11 minutes to go. Right now, I would say our true severe weather risk is fairly marginal. What I mean by that is, and again, I showed you a little while ago what the definition of a severe thunderstorm is. Do we have 58 mile per hour winds or greater moving through Trumbull right now? Probably not. But a 40 to 50 mile per hour wind, yeah, I think that's possible, looking at the data right now. Enough to blow things over and cause some inconveniences and some problems, that's for sure. So from roughly the Mahoning-Trumbull line up through Lordstown, close to Warren, up to Champion, yeah, some pretty good wind blowing through here. The wind may be a little less impressive now over towards Cortland, Niles, and Vienna, but you also have to keep in mind we're getting farther and farther away from the radar as you go east into Trumbull County. So while the colors may be a little more muted as you get over towards the airport and over towards Yankee Lake and places like that, you're also getting pretty far from the Cleveland radar, so it's sampling higher and higher in the storm, and sometimes that kind of leads the eye to believe that maybe the winds are lighter over there when it's just the reality of living in between two radar sites in our area where we're getting pretty far from one of the radar sites, and therefore the colors may not be as vibrant. Sometimes we switch over to the Pittsburgh radar when we get a little bit closer to parts of eastern Trumbull, a lot of Mercer, of course Lawrence, And even in the parts of Mahoning, we sometimes use the Pittsburgh radar because we're a little bit closer to the radar site as compared to the Cleveland radar, which is actually south and west of downtown Cleveland. It's pretty far away once you get into some parts of our TV viewing area. Sometimes people wonder, well, hey, why don't we have radars in more places? Well, radars are really expensive, and they tend to be, at this point, the main radars tend to be near National Weather Service offices, which tend to be near airports, major airports. So we're served by the Pittsburgh and Cleveland National Weather Service offices and their radar sites as well. Some bigger cities have what we call terminal radars, smaller radars that cover a shorter range. They have a smaller range, but they kind of supplement those main radars near those airports. We do not, unfortunately, have one of those in our area. Columbus has one of those, and yeah, sometimes some of the bigger cities have kind of those supplemental radars. It'd be nice if we had one around here. Unfortunately, we do not. So sometimes, we kind of get stuck in between radars, and that kind of can make things a little bit deceptive in our area. All right, topic for another day. Let's talk about what's going on right now, and in Fowler and Vienna and Howland and Cortland. We are getting some torrential rains in through here. Let's look at some of the rainfall rates. Yeah, some true tropical downpours in through here. 1 inch, 2 inches, 3 inches per hour as far as the rate goes. Thankfully, it's not going to hang around for a full hour, but what you're looking at here are the numbers. If this storm were not to move a single inch in the next hour, this is how much rain you could expect if the storm maintained its intensity. Thankfully, these are moving at about 30 miles per hour off to the east, but still, that's a pretty heavy rainfall rate. That's the kind of rainfall rate that can lead to some people to maybe pull over because they just can't see well enough out their windshield. It can cause some minor flooding problems in areas of poor drainage. Street and highways can get some standing water on it when you have rainfall rates like that. So we're getting some lightning, some gusty winds, and some heavy rain, that is for sure, in a good chunk of Trumbull County right now. Down in Mahoning County, getting a growing cell right now between Canfield and Boardman, right around Mill Creek Park right now. There's very little, if any, thunder and lightning, it looks like, with this right now, but this is growing. This was not much about 5-10 minutes ago, but it is growing and impacting Mill Creek Park right now, Shields Road, heading over towards Tippecanoe, and also the Turnpike along 76, moving through parts of central Mahoning County right now. So we'll keep an eye on that. Also looking at my other source here, maybe a little small hail in the Niles area right now. Let's look at our radar source here. Again, it's nothing big, but yeah, right around Niles, maybe getting a little small hail. A little conversational hail, perhaps, maybe pea size. Doubt it's much bigger than that, but maybe a little bit of hail in there. Again, nothing that's going to cause damage or be any sort of a big problem, but you may notice mixed in with some hefty raindrops, there may be some small hailstones in southern parts of Trumbull right now. We have another 6 minutes to go on our severe thunderstorm warning, set to expire at 5 p.m. for a good chunk of Trumbull County. The main threat all along with this, in addition to the very heavy rain, is the wind. And as we get a little farther away from the Cleveland radar, let's actually bring up the Pittsburgh velocity data here. The winds the colors will be different than what I've been showing you, because now we're showing the winds blowing towards the Pittsburgh radar instead of the winds blowing away from the Cleveland radar. Winds blowing towards a radar site show up in green, and away from a radar site show up in red. So this is wind blowing, of course, east towards western PA, and yeah, still getting some pretty strong winds, we think, around Lordstown right now, maybe 40 plus miles per hour. This is getting set to head into Niles here imminently, and into Warren as well. Anyone in downtown Warren who is still kind of in the cleanup phase, you've been dealing with more downpours lately, and now you're about to deal with pretty strong wind gust coming back through. And this is about 2 hours after we had that tremendous gust of wind that caused some damage in downtown Warren earlier on. Some fresh lightning and certainly some heavy downpours right now right over the Youngstown Warren Airport in Vienna. Heading back towards 46 from Cortland down to the Howland and Niles area. 169 being impacted by this as well as of course 82. And now we're getting into rush hour, and so a lot of people are on these roads in Trumbull County and dealing with some very, very heavy rain. Yeah, we see this brighter reflectivity right here between Niles and Mineral Ridge. That may be some small hail in addition to some heavy rain. Not going to be surprised if upon the expiration of this warning at 5, we're going to get a fresh warning. Wouldn't be surprised if they had to issue one. Maybe for kind of this part of Trumbull, including Hubbard, and then we'll see what the Pittsburgh Weather Service office does for western Mercer. Of course, as this storm crosses the state line over into Mercer, it becomes Pittsburgh's jurisdiction, and we'll see if they issue any warning. I think this storm, while it showed some signs of weakening earlier, maybe cycling back up a little bit, seeing some fresh lightning now, seeing maybe a little small hail, and the wind threat, I think is still decent enough that, again, I'm not going to be surprised if a new warning has to be issued upon the expiration of this one at 5 p.m. Again, brighter greens means stronger wind. Mineral Ridge to Niles, also a gust of wind from Vienna. I'm going to look real quickly at the official observations at the Youngstown Warren Airport. A couple of minutes ago, the fresh ob there, about a 20-mile-per-hour gust, no big deal. But at the airport, we've had 0.9 inches worth of rain so far today, so there's been some heavy rain over the airport, that is for sure. Todd says quite dark in Cornersburg. The winds are still. No wind right now in Champion, says Brenda. A little light rain, a little thunder as well. Dark in Niles from Tina. Some people saying, Heidi mentioning, so tired of this. Yeah, a lot of people have storm fatigue this spring and this summer, that is for sure. It's been better of late. We've had fewer storms than we had back in May and June, but still, it's been a pretty busy few months. And a lot of people have had, of course, problems with flooding and all sorts of problems as a result of the storms that we've had. So storm fatigue is a real thing in our area here in the summer of 2019. Let's check back in on that real quickly in that Mahoning County cell. Pushing over towards Market Street right now, up into Boardman, West Boulevard, and right over Mill Creek Park, Fellows Riverside Gardens. Probably getting quite dark, if not raining there right now. Indianola Road, Glenwood, of course. All areas that are getting a pretty good downpour. Not much, if any, lightning just yet, but this is a growing cell down here in Mahoning County. Again, always quiet still in Columbiana County. Over in Mercer County, our storm that had the warning on it earlier is now just a routine downpour with occasional thunder and lightning. Over towards Sandy Lake, take this, of course, seriously because there is some lightning with it. You don't want to be out in this, but no severe weather threat with that right now. This main cluster, this is the peak of our severe weather threat right now. Once this moves through our television viewing area, I think we'll be all clear as far as severe weather goes for the rest of the evening. May try to rain a little bit, may inconvenience your plans this evening in some spots, but the severe weather risk is going to diminish in your location pretty quickly once this moves through. Heidi says thunder and hard rain in Lordstown. It stops and then starts again. That's been the way it's been going. We've had stuff coming and going for the last few hours for sure. Coming up on 5 o'clock here, and we'll see what happens with our severe thunderstorm warning. We'll see at least the cancellation of the original warning or the expiration. Then we'll see if there's anything new coming from the National Weather Service. I'm still tracking some pretty gusty winds, maybe not severe, but gusty, Niles, Mineral Ridge to Howland. All right, so that one, the warning is now done. We'll hang on for a couple minutes here and see if any new warnings are issued. Real quick check-in on our Niles camera. If you see something like this, see this kind of low-hanging little appendage right there? Sometimes these are mistaken for funnel clouds. This looks to me just like a scud cloud. Scud cloud is just a low-hanging cloud formed by really high humidity at the very lowest level of the atmosphere, and so the air becomes very saturated, very low, and these don't spin, they don't rotate, they don't form a tornado, but sometimes people mistake them for a tornado because they're pretty low and kind of dangling down. But if you see something like that, today's the day where scud would be fairly commonplace, so keep that in mind. So that's our Niles camera, and up into our Youngstown camera. Yeah, some dark clouds there, maybe even a little shelf cloud action. looking off to the north and west from from Youngstown. Oops, sorry about the black screen there. Let's go back to our radar. We'll hang with you for a couple of minutes on the stream here to make sure no new warnings are issued. All right, your sky no doubt looking threatening right now from Sharon down to Hubbard, Coatesville, Camel, and you just saw the shelf cloud on the Youngstown camera. We have a big cluster of storms moving through with some gusty winds and some lightning.
That was just that expiration for
Okay.
trouble.
But we have no active warnings as of 5:01, so we'll see if we need any additional warnings. I kind of, at this point, kind of think we'll be in better shape. Whoops, let me see the colors flip here. I'm going to switch back to the Pittsburgh radar because we're definitely closer to Pittsburgh once we get over towards the state line. I still think there's some gusty winds now clipping the Austintown area to Girard and Mineral Ridge, North Jackson area, and points east. Severe, probably not, but strong thunderstorm wind, yeah, for sure. And a little bit ago, it looked like there might have been some hail. If there's still some hail in spots, it's going to be very small, no bigger than pea size, I would think. My other radar source actually showing there might be a little bit of hail on the south side of Youngstown right now with that growing cell between Youngstown and Boardman. Our in-house radar here is not showing it yet, but my other source is showing maybe right here. There may be a little small hail trying to mix in. All right, KC on Twitter says strong winds in McDonald right now, which is believable. I just showed you just a moment ago the Brader Greens in this zone, so that's certainly believable. Some strong winds, Mineral Ridge, Austintown, Girard, coming in McDonald, just south of Howland, just south of Warren as well. We see these brighter greens. There may be some wind gusts of 40 plus, maybe even 50 plus miles per hour in some spots. 55 would be about the top limit if the radar data is to be believed. All right, I think what I'm going to do now is cut the stream off. If we have any fresh warnings, we'll hop back on. I'll have you covered on social media, of course, throughout the evening, and we'll have a full update on the nasty weather we had in Warren earlier on, along with everything else you need to know about what happened and what will happen this evening. And we've got another couple of unsettled days on the way. All that coming up this evening on 21 News at 6 p.m. in 55 minutes. Hope you'll join us then. In the meantime, have a good rest of your Tuesday.